Today we're going to start our series about deploying an Express.js web application on Google Cloud using Google Cloud Run. Express.js is a fast, unopinionated minimalist web framework for Node.js, a very popular one at that. Node.js is a JavaScript runtime environment. It allows us to run JavaScript code outside of the browser. And Cloud Run is a feature of Google Cloud that allows us to run containerized apps in a scalable, managed way. So Google Cloud takes care of scaling up, down, and a great feature of Cloud Run is that you only pay per use. So you pay when your code is running, build to the nearest 100 milliseconds. In my opinion, it's the easiest way of running containerized apps in any cloud provider. So let's get started. Our application is going to be a little book club application. So let's create a folder for that. Book club. I'm going to open Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is my editor of choice for JavaScript, or in this case, it's going to be a TypeScript application. So first of all, I'm going to add a git ignore file. My favorite way of creating the initial git ignore file is to go to this gitignore.io website. This is going to have a node. I'm developing macOS. Why not Linux? I'm going to add Windows as well, and Visual Studio Code, and that's it. It's going to create an initial file for us. So .git ignore, adding the git ignore file. Going to add a readme as well. This is going to be a book club. The readme is written in Markdown. And right, let's initialize our repo, adding all the files with the -a flag, committing. The message is going to be initial commit. Alright, so the first route that I'm going to create, it's going to be to start, I'm going to create a route to return all the books that we have in this club. So let's create a branch for this. So git checkout b feature list books, right? And as I mentioned, this project is going to use TypeScript. So TypeScript is a strongly typed programming language. It was built by Microsoft. It is a superset of JavaScript, but it adds on top of TypeScript some great type inference, so we can reason about our application and refactor it in an easier way than we would by just using JavaScript. So yeah, and the easiest way of starting a TypeScript project, in my opinion, is by using Google GTS. So GTS is an opinionated configuration that comes from Google. It's the easiest way of setting up the TypeScript projects that I know of. So let's just use it. npx GTS init. Going to generate the package.json for us. Okay, let's see what it created. So it created a package.json. I'm going to update the name here. And it provided us a bunch of scripts, including like some linting and fixing scripts. It uses ESLint. ESLint is a tool to identify and to catch errors in our code. For example, in this case, see on line 3, on line 6, and on line 8, it displays that this variable is declared, but its value is never read. So when we run this lint script, so let's go npm run lint. See, it displays those 3 errors in our terminal. So let's delete those. And let's run npm run lint again. Okay, the errors are gone. It also has like a compile script. So let's run it. npm run compile. So this compile script created a build folder where you have the compiled JavaScript code. So TypeScript compiles to JavaScript, so it can run on the browser and by using Node. By using Node, let's run Node here. So Node build source index.js, and there you have it. Try npm run lint fix. Already did. And all right, so that's it for Google GTS. So we're in business using TypeScript already. I am going to add the build folder to our git ignore if it's not there yet. All right, so just adding build here. Let's see about our git status. Okay, so git add a git commit and the message Google or init Google GTS / or maybe add TypeScript init Google GTS. Okay. Now let's start our Express web app. So we're going to install it via npm. So npm install Express, and we're going to go to source, adding our app.ts here. So one of the really nice repositories that we have, in my opinion, is this node best practice repo. It has a list, it contains a list of some good practice on doing node applications. It has some things that are relevant to Express also here. So one of the things that it recommends is to split the app file from the index file. So it would be something like this. So import Express from Express. Now let's see about those errors here. Right, I'm going to add the types for Express. I'm going to just copy this. All right, and now still an error here. So this module is declared can only be used with the default import when using the ES module interrupt flag. So let's add this flag to our tsconfig.json. It's going to be ES module interrupt. It's going to be true. This will allow us to use the syntax. In my opinion, it's easier. It's an easier syntax, or like a than doing like this. So let's just use it like this. Now we're going to create our app. We're going to export this app, and in the index.js file we're going to import the app from the app file, app.listen. book club server listening on port 3000. Okay, and so let's run the clean script. So npm run clean to just clean the build folder, npm run compile, and let's run node build source index.js. Alright, so we have a server listening on port 3000. That's good. Now we're going to do the following. Instead of compiling and running nodes every time that we do any change on this application, we're going to fasten to make the feedback loop more faster. So we are going to use this tool here, TS Node Dev. This will allow us to deploy our application in a more iterative way. So anytime we do any change, this tool is going to restart our app. So let's add this as a dependency. TS npm install TS node dev. I'm going to save it as a dev dependency. And this is going to be all right. I'm going to add a start script here. It's going to be ts node dev respawn and then source index.ts. So let's see, npm run start. Right, so the book club server is listening on port 3000. Let's see what's going to happen if I change to 3001. And it restarted on port 3001. So that's great. Let's run the npm run fix script. All right. Now let's add this and commit. Add express ts node dev. All right. Now one of the things that we are hard coding this port value here. So instead of hard coding, let's create a configuration file. So config.ts. Configuration, we usually get configuration from environment variables, and we need to validate if those environment variables they exist and if they have the correct format that the application expects. So for this, we are going to add this library called Celebrate. So Celebrate is it's a library that wraps the very famous Joy validation library. Joy is a very powerful and very easy to use library for to validate objects, the objects schemas, and even individual variables or values. Celebrate adds on top of Joy some tools to some functions or some middleware, in fact, to validate requests to Express.js routes. But in this case, So let's add npm install celebrate, and let's import. So as a it exports joy as well, so import joy from celebrate. Now let's create a schema in vars, a schema for the environment variables. It's going to be a joy object, keys, port, and this is going to be a joy, going to be a number, an integer, and it's going to be required. And here I'm going to put unknown because the process.env can and will contain more variables than just the port. Now we're going to validate it, in vars, and then an error, going to equal var schema dot validate, and we're going to validate the process.env variable that contains the environment variables in node.js. Now if we have an error, we're going to throw it. Otherwise, we're going to declare a config variable here. So the port is going to be in vars, then port. And finally, going to export this config. Now, in the index.js file, going to import the config. And app.listen, going to listen to the port we have. Going to interpolate the port here in this string, and let's see what's going to happen. All right, so now the port is required. Great. So the way that we are going to do here to use and develop using environment variables, we're going to use the .env library, in this case with .env expand. So .env is a library that allows us to create and use those .env files to declare environment variables. So in this case, I'm going to declare like a port variable here. It's going to be 8080. And let me add those libraries here as a dependency. So .env, I'm going to add as a dev dependency, .env expand. Nice. Now let's add this to the start script. I'm going to add the .env expand config. This is going to run this config code before spawning before running the index.js. And let's see what's going to happen. And there you have it. Now it's listening on port 8080, just as I put here on the .env file. So that's a good place to make a commit. So let's just run fix, see if anything. Okay, everything's alright. And we're going to add config file. Awesome. Okay. Now we're going to finally add the book route here, the list books route, I mean. So let's just create books directory to hold the code related to anything book related. Now let's create a books service and a books router. All right. Now this is going to be a class called books service. It will have a sync method that's going to be list books. For now it won't receive any argument, and it's going to return a hard-coded list of books. So let's just create a models directory, and then a book model, a class book. This book doesn't need to be a class, in fact, it can be an interface. And it's going to have, say, an ID, going to be a string, and a title can be a string as well, an author, a string. There's a thing about books, it's ISBN book. Yeah, so it's an international book number standard. So okay, so let's have it. ISBN also is going to be a string, and we're going to export this interface, and let's export it from an index file. All right. Now the book service is going to return a list of books. So let's import book from the models folder, and it's going to be a book list, and it's going to return a few books. For now, we don't have a database or anything like that. So, okay, so the promise actually going to return a promise that will resolve to a list of books. So let's see here, ID. Let's generate some fake data here, right? To ID 1, title Harry Potter, and the philosopher stone. The author is going to be J.K. Rowling. The ICBN, let's see, Harry Potter, and the philosopher's stone ISBN. Oh, you have two ISBNs, ISBN 10 and ISBN 13. So let's just do the ISBN 10 for now. Copy this thing. I'm going to add just another book, ID 2, title, title is going to be I don't know, Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship. Hello, shape of the ring. The author, it is how to write this guy? It is, geez, I forgot his name. It is, oh, J.R.R. Tolkien. J.R.R. Tolkien. And yeah, the ISBN 10. Okay, let's copy this thing. That's right. And now we're going to export this books service. Perfect. Now the books router, also going to be a class. So books router, it's going to receive a book service as a dependency. So you have private read only books service, actually books service, it's an instance of book service. Great. And it's going to have a getter that where we get the router, and const router equals new router. This router is imported from Express. Now let's create a route here. Not new, I think like this is a, okay, this is a function. So get is going to get, the path is going to be /lists, not list, I mean /books. It's going to receive a request, response, next. Now I'm going to wrap this in a try catch. So if we have an error, the error handling middleware is going to take care of it. And yeah, so const books is going to equal this book service list books, and I'm going to return res.json. Maybe I'm going to just return all the books as JSON. Right, the route was declared. Now I'm going to return the router. I'm going to export the books router. Great. Now let's create also an index.ts file for it. Export the books service. Exporting the books router to. Now in our app.ts file, we're going to import those things from the books directory. So books service, books router. We are going to create a books service instance here. No dependencies. I'm going to create a books router instance. It has a book service dependency, and I'm just going to get the router here. Now I'm going to add the books router as a middleware. And I think that's going to be it. npm run, let's see, npm start. Yeah. Okay, so first of all, in the books router, I need to return from here, and here need to put a sync. Let's see how it goes now. Alright, so book club listening on port 8080. So let's just do like a little curl to get to see if it is going to return our books / books. And there we have it, the Harry Potter Philosopher's Stone, and also the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring. So that's nice. Let's run just to fix. Alright, let's git add, git commit, add list books route. Alright, so alright, so we have our first route here. Okay, so that's it for the first part of this series. In the next part, we are going to look on how to containerize this application. Afterwards, we're going to use Terraform to create some infrastructure and deploy this application on Google Cloud. So stay tuned and see you next time.